Death. Everything has a season, a time for birth and a time for death. For some, it's grandmother or grandfather. For others, it's mother or father. For some, it's a sibling, a friend, or a lover. One thing is certain, regardless of who it is or when it occurs. At some point, we've all felt the sting of death. We talk a lot about the beginning of life. We throw parties to find out the baby's birth gender, then another party to shower them with gifts, and then another party once they've spent their first 12 months on this planet, and every 12 months thereafter. We tell stories about the day we were born, even though we can't remember them ourselves and have only pieced them together from various sources. We talk a lot about birth, but almost never about death. Most of the time, when we are forced to discuss it, someone we care about has already died. But it does not have to be this way. We're all going to die, so let's talk about it while we still can. Here's to death. As everyone knows, death means the end of everything for you. It occurs when all of the body's vital functions stop permanently. Your heart stops beating, your breath stops, and you lose all brain function. Their heart is failing, and the body is undergoing circulation changes. Their heartbeat is becoming fainter, and their skin no longer glows like the summer sun. The pale gray blue of winter begins to dominate, most visibly on the knees, hands, and legs. Their respiration becomes erratic. It moves slowly at times and quickly at others. It can be faint or loud. Chain Stoics is happening right now. They take a few breaths before a long pause with no breathing at all. And just when we think they've left, they gasp and take another breath. They haven't arrived yet, but they're getting close. In a few hours, they'll take another long pause, but this time there will be no gasp to break the silence. When most people are about to leave us for the other side of life, they claim to feel ready, as if they are wrapped around Mother Nature's arms, much like a baby in their mother's womb. There is a sense of comfort, completion, and peace. People are often aware of what is going to happen next, and they can even wait for something significant to happen before passing away. You could wait for your mother to arrive so you can express your gratitude for everything she did for you as a child, or you could call a friend and tell them you forgive them for everything they did wrong to you. Perhaps you're waiting to hold your children in your arms again, or kiss your partner on the cheek one more time. When death knocks, we often know who is at the door. We prepare ourselves in our homes before walking out, locking the door and throwing away the key. As we walk out the door, we become increasingly confused. We fall into an unconscious state one last time as we draw the curtains on our lives. As we walk out the door, we become increasingly confused. We fall into an unconscious state one last time as we draw the curtains on our lives. We die. We are aware of and understand everything that has occurred up to this point. However, everything that happens afterward remains a complete mystery to us. The strangest thing about death is that we frequently describe it as irreversible. What is dead will remain dead. However, there are thousands of people out there who were medically declared dead but have returned, bringing with them a wealth of incredible stories. We refer to these as near-death experiences because, once again, we believe that if they had died, they would not be alive to tell the story. But is this true? We might never know. There is a wealth of information available regarding near-death experiences. People who have been medically declared dead for hours, if not days, return to life with stories of out-of-body experiences, memories of their time in the afterlife, and incredible details about this side of life that they simply could not have imagined. Many people who have had near-death experiences agree that the phrase "life flashes before your eyes" is very accurate. We are frequently given a glimpse into our entire life just before the heart stops beating. However, it is not what we think it is. It is not only the major events in our lives that stand out. It's not your child's wedding or graduation or the first time you heard them cry. It's all random stuff. It's riding your bike as a kid, sitting at your desk and randomly checking your email, or staring at a white cat while climbing a set of stairs. The things we don't think about, the moments we don't remember in life, are brought to our attention in the face of death. If you thought staring at a white cat while climbing stairs was oddly specific, you were correct. A young man who had a near-death experience described this as one of life's flashes, but he couldn't recall ever being on that staircase or seeing a white cat. So after being revived, he was able to draw the layout of the staircase, the apartment it led to, and describe the cat to his mother, who told him that they had once lived in that exact building, with the same staircase and apartment layout, with someone who owned a white cat. Not such a crazy story, until you consider that he and his mother left that apartment when he was only 14 months old. This begs the question, are all of our memories still there, including those we've forgotten? When we die, do we get to see everything we thought we had forgotten while on this side of life? Is what has gone only temporary? Death appears to be very lonely, which is one of the reasons many people are afraid of it. You entered this world alone, but will we leave alone? Many people who have had near-death experiences say they saw a dead relative who either escorted them to the afterlife or told them it wasn't their time yet. Regardless, death was not as lonely as we might think. We'll never know for certain whether this was just a figment of their imagination, trying to reassure and comfort them in their final moments, or if it was the spirit or soul of their deceased relatives. However, we do know that for the majority of people, death is not lonely or does not feel that way. Speaking of the soul, this is one concept that science has yet to fully understand or explain. However, given the number of near-death experiences linked to out-of-body experiences, it may be time to reconsider whether it is something that can be explained by science. I once read about a freshman in college who had just overdosed on sleeping pills. They collapsed in the ambulance and were declared legally dead for 3 minutes. However, they saw everything in the ambulance from a third-person perspective, resulting in an out-of-body experience. What stood out to them was the EMT who was attempting to resuscitate them in the ambulance, with minty green hair that could not be missed. 3 days after they were stabilized in the hospital, they requested this EMT. The EMT they had seen while they were deceased was a real person. The out-of-body experience they had while in the ambulance was filled with vivid memories of them lying on the ambulance floor, machines beating, and EMTs attempting to bring them back. When you hear things like this, you can't help but wonder, do we really lack a soul, whatever that may be? Are we literally made up of random atoms and molecules reacting to stimuli from Mother Nature? Or perhaps we are something more. These are the stories and experiences of those who have escaped the inevitability of death and bear battle scars to prove it. However, for the majority, what constitutes death remains dead. So about 1 to 2 weeks later, we'll say our final goodbyes. Much of what we know about human history is based on how we buried our dead. From tombstones to mummies, the dead have provided us with more information than the living. The oldest known international burial site is located in Kafze, Israel, and dates back approximately 10,000 years. The dead's remains were carefully placed in a coffin, along with clothing, trinkets, and food. The coffins were then carefully placed inside a cave. There was also evidence in this cave that the living painted the remains of the deceased during parties and large feasts to commemorate their passing, and people were buried in groups of families. This means it could be from 10,000 years ago. Humans recognize the importance of death and the need to commemorate a life well lived. Today, many different cultures have different funeral traditions. Most people gather to reminisce about the person's life, discussing all of the good they did while alive. Many religious organizations pray over the remains to ensure a good outcome in the afterlife. However, the nature of that afterlife varies from person to person. Abrahamic religions believe that your actions on earth determine where you will spend eternity. Families are encouraged to be strong in the face of death, as we will all be reconnected when we cross over. Other religions, such as Hinduism, believe that the dead will be reborn. Following the ceremonies and prayers, the bodies are buried or cremated, and the survivors disperse in an effort to heal from the pain of losing someone. Even when we expect it, death is excruciatingly painful. Because the concept of losing someone is not the same as actually losing them and mourning the end of a previously existing relationship. Although we are fully aware that these things can happen and are part of the human experience, when confronted with the harsh reality, the grief can be excruciating. The finality of death is its scariest feature. Waking up one morning and realizing that everything we once had, shared, and experienced is gone forever. The fact that all we'll have from those experiences are memories, both old and new, which we can't recreate. Most of the time, however, these experiences provide us with a fresh perspective on life. It reaffirms the reality of life's brevity and gives us the courage to make the most of our limited time on this planet. It teaches us to be good people while we are still alive, because we will not be able to defend ourselves when our eulogies are read as we lie in an open casket. Finally, we are better equipped to help people going through similar experiences because people are more comforted by others who have been there. Seeing someone who has gone through a similar loss as you gives you hope that you too will be able to persevere. When you're sitting there staring at your dying loved one, remember that death is usually less painful and troubling for the person dying than it is for you. Sit with them for the next 2 hours and squeeze their hand. Discuss all the wonderful things in life, including shared experiences, children and pets, lovers and friends. Talk about a life worth living until the last breath. Talk about a life well lived. Talk about death. The earth will keep spinning. The birds will continue chirping. However, everything eventually comes to an end. We will all face death at some point in our lives. It is unavoidable. But as time passes, we discover more and more about our bodies. We're learning about why we age and the biological processes that cause it. Who knows, in our lifetimes, we might discover a way to extend our life cycles or even transfer our consciousness into the metaverse. We need smart and curious people to help tackle and solve these problems, and Brilliant allows you to get started on some of STEM's most pressing and interesting topics. Brilliant offers courses in math, science, and computer science for learners of all skill levels, from beginner to expert. Brilliant recently improved the interactivity of some of its best courses. If you want to learn more about human biology and how technology can help solve it, I recommend taking their computational biology course. It actually raises a lot of philosophical questions, such as what is life, while also teaching you about DNA profiling and analysis. We can all agree that the best way to truly learn and remember something is to do it. Brilliant's interactive courses allow you to learn a new skill or topic in as little as 10 minutes. You won't know what you enjoy doing until you try it. It seems obvious, but it's a very powerful concept that I believe more people should take advantage of. If you're interested in improving your overall intelligence, go to brilliant.org/aperture and start learning for free. You'll also save 20% on a premium subscription, which unlocks every course Brilliant has to offer. As always, you will support both yourself and Aperture.